Vanakkam and Namaste from the team at Vidya Subramanian Academy. I'm Vidya Subramanian here and welcome back to the latest edition of our Fun with Carnatic music series. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you a little about thoughts and tips that we at Team VSA would like to share with all of you. Again, we do understand that some of you are advanced level students or seasoned practitioners for whom this information may seem rudimentary or even obvious, but we have had a huge uptick in the number of beginner level students who have joined us in the past few months. And we would like to share some thoughts and tips for the benefit of all our students. Hope you like our presentation. Tip number 1. Remember, this is your personal musical journey, or rather, it could be your child's personal musical journey. So let the student enjoy learning and develop at his or her own pace. And it's very important to understand that there are multiple correct approaches and methods to learning any art form, and traditional art forms like Carnatic music are a wonderful brain stimulator, and they also act as great ways to relax and unwind. So it's very important to not make your music lesson a source of stress. I personally have been a late bloomer. I've understood a lot of things about Carnatic music over time in a fairly slow pace, I must say. And from my own personal learning experience, I have understood that there are always some students who learn very quickly because of their innate musical abilities or prior exposure at home, while there are other equally dedicated students who take a longer time to get the basics in place. And that's absolutely fine, and it's very, very important for music teachers as well as families of music students to avoid being judgmental or discouraging in their approach. We at Vidya Subramanian Academy strongly believe that a student who's taught in a gentle, loving and encouraging manner is far likelier to have a better learning outcome in the long run than someone who is taught in a very strict or pressured learning environment. Here goes tip number 2. Consistency is key. Here we would like to stress the importance of daily practice as well as weekly attendance to your music lessons. Practicing every single day for even 15 or 20 minutes is going to give a student much better results than practicing in a sporadic manner or say once a week for 2 hours. Try to squeeze in some time for your daily practice, and if you get busy a particular week, that's fine. Just let your teacher know. We at VSA are happy to adjust the pace and content of that week's lesson if you've not been able to dedicate time for practice. Another very important thing to remember is don't drop out or take a break simply because you cannot practice. It's very important to hang in there, because just singing or playing the instrument under the guru's watchful eye is going to help you make progress in the long run. And remember, for all of us, the goal should be that music is a lifelong companion. Now let's move on. Practicing and reviewing lessons periodically under the guru's guidance is very critical, while offline practice by the student is always welcome and certainly very helpful. Periodic review under the guru's watchful eye really makes a huge difference. Every time the teacher hears you sing, he or she is going to suggest some added nuances. For example, let's say you've learned Mohanam Varnam. The first pass when you learn the song, the emphasis is going to be on ensuring that your swarasthanams are sung perfectly, your talam is correct. But when we come back, we are going to be able to focus a little more on the aesthetics aspect. Make sure that you're singing with the right raga bhavam, gamakams and so on. Or if the student is at the appropriate level, the teacher may encourage the student to try speed changes, like for example, singing the varnam in Tisra Gati. Tip number 4. Be flexible, be creative, and remember, customization gives better outcomes. It's very important to understand that one size fits all simply doesn't work for a traditional art form like Carnatic music. So important for parents and students to avoid comparing notes with other parents and students, because again, going back to the very first tip that we shared, everybody's learning path is unique and we are all charting our own journey here in the world of music. For example, For certain students, teachers may determine that they need a little more time before they can be taught the third speed of certain varises. Whereas for other students, after a couple of geetams, a teacher may determine that he or she is ready for a varnam. So it really doesn't matter, because at the end, we all want students to feel happy about their singing or their playing and look forward to their next lesson and learn in a consistent way. At Vidya Subramanian Academy, teachers are trained to approach each student as a unique learner, and we also try to incorporate a lot of creative exercises and projects so that the students' manodharma or improvisational aspects can be inculcated right from day one. Tip number 5 is a question that we often get asked by students who are new to Carnatic music. Why do Carnatic musicians emphasize on this aspect? This is because this is really an improvisation based art form, where it really helps if one can draw upon various bits and pieces for improvisation even while singing compositions. So the foundation in terms of memorizing all the basic lessons has to be really strong, so that we can layer on various creative aspects as we go along. For example, let us say a student is trying out an alapana, which is a free-flowing improvisation in Raga Mohanam. The first thing that the student needs to know is the Arohanam Avarohanam, or the basic scale of Raga Mohanam. Then she needs to remember the key phrases of this raga, which is often something that Carnatic music students draw based on their experience in learning several compositions in that particular raga. And also the student needs to be able to draw from other explorations of that raga by master musicians. And then the last segment is basically to let the students' imagination soar. As far as the creative aspects are concerned, there are very few restrictions as long as the grammatical limits of the raga are adhered to, which is what makes Carnatic music a very exciting and dynamic art form to learn. Moving on to the last tip of this episode of Fun with Carnatic Music. Listening leads to lots of learning. Why is listening to concerts, live as well as recorded, so important for a Carnatic music student? This is because listening helps us develop an intuition for the flow of ragas as well as for various other technical aspects of this art form. For example, a student who has lots of listening exposure is able to instantaneously identify ragas. And also listening helps us develop an understanding of Gamakam's aspects like Edupu, which is the starting point relative to the rhythm. It also exposes students to compositions in various ragas, talas by various composers on several themes. It exposes a student to the different banis or schools of Carnatic music, and all these things often flow together to help the student develop musically and also help the student improvise and create as he or she reaches a more advanced stage of learning. And it's very important to remember that even casual listening while you may be driving or cooking or reading a book also goes a long way in this musical development. We hope you found our presentation useful. Do check out our website at www.vidyasubramanian.com to learn more about our online music and other class offerings. See you next time.